Hey there, it's Jason Stein, host of Cars and Culture with Jason Stein on SiriusXM, as well as on this YouTube channel. We interview everybody, actors, athletes, musicians, business leaders. We talk to the people who lust for the vehicle and the people who make them. So like and subscribe. Let us know what you think right here on Cars and Culture. And it was a confluence of events around that time because you had some superstars who were really emerging. You had Jeff Gordon coming onto the scene around that time, 2001. And it became a very competitive, and it became incredibly popular. Right. It was a stroke of genius. I mean, it was.
Again, the headline to my career: being in the right place at the right time.
But
in the Barrett-Jackson auction too. You know, Barrett, when we first put it on the air and really started growing, it was doing very significant ratings and grew their business tremendously.
It's hard to think now, Tony, that those properties wouldn't. We'll get to Formula One in a moment, but that those properties wouldn't have had a true home or wouldn't have even been conceived at that point when you think about where we are today. The growth, the trajectory over the last 20 years has been fantastic.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Could you have envisioned that, or?
Well, we saw that NASCAR was growing very rapidly. It wasn't always the easiest negotiation with NASCAR, but we saw that it was growing and we wanted to kind of hitch our ride to it, so to speak, and we did. And they did with us too, because it did. We also put it on the Fox broadcast network. We put, the Saturday truck races and the other series. There were various names of the series on Speed Channel, and then on the broadcast network we would have Fox. We would have the major race on Sunday, and they just worked really, really well. And then, NASCAR decided they wanted to be a more metropolitan-based business and made some mistakes, and their popularity now has waned a bit, but still extraordinarily popular concept, NASCAR racing. If you go to one of the races, I don't know if you've ever been to one, you see the trailers and the RVs that just follow them around, and it's just the passion behind that business is so enormous.
They're moving cities more than anything else.
Exactly.
With a fervor for drivers and winners and losers and protagonists, and
it's all about I'm number 8 or I'm number 3.
Right.
Dale Earnhardt number 3 was, people still wear his hat and his shirts and his
Well, we've had Jeff Gordon on this program as well as Rick Hendrick, and Jeff talked about how they went to Madison Avenue. More than anything else, it was a complete transformation for that whole group.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Rick Hendrick did enormous work for NASCAR and for Barrett-Jackson as well, because he's always at the auctions buying lots of cars.
You like the auction side of the business too, don't you? There have been reports of you being at auctions.
I've been at a lot of auctions.
Tell me about that.
Well, I'm very friendly with Steve Davis at Barrett-Jackson, who is the heart and soul of that business. I don't know if you know Steve, but he's just a terrific guy. And I know David Gooding very well. Our kids went to school together, actually, in LA, so I got to know David through the auctions and through there. It's just a lot of fun to go to the auctions and see the energy and the enthusiasm and the financial backing of people that go to these things. You just came from Monterey, where you saw a couple million dollar car sell, I guess, right? So
20 million with one Ferrari.
Really? Wow, it's a very active business right now.
It is, for sure. It is. So you gave it a home. You gave Barrett-Jackson a home. And what was the concept behind creating a television marketplace for that?
Well, it was actually on Speed Channel when I got there, but it was not.
But you blew it up.
We blew it up in a big way. The concept was it was doing very good ratings, and we thought it's always better to have good ratings than not good ratings. So we expanded the programming and put really, really talented people on the stage, or on the block to really position and promote the cars and talk about the cars. And we brought race car drivers in to talk about as correspondents, really, that would go out in the lineup where all the cars are coming and talk about the various cars, and it really worked well. Again, being on the ascendancy of a business is always a good thing.
So Formula One, you gave Formula One almost the same kind of perch as well. I mean, Formula One, for those who think that it's all drive to survive and this excitement around these American events has been here forever. The truth is, it was hard to find on Sundays.
Yes.
Right?
Well, it was it was hard to find in the U.S. television marketplace because it was not always on. But the real problem was the races were on at different times around the world. The interesting thing is when we put it on Speed Channel, we saw that the races did 40,000 viewers no matter what time they were on, midnight, 3 a.m.,
Just a passionate
6 p.m.
following.
Just an awesomely passionate following. And we focused a lot on it, but we could never really grow it to a really sustainable level because there weren't any races in the U.S. until the last couple of years. So I left Fox 11 years ago, so I didn't see the growth of it. But it was going to an event was an event. I mean, they were just wildly popular events, and bringing races to the U.S. really has positioned the racing concept in a very, very aggressive way. The Miami race, I don't know if you went to the Miami race.
No, I wasn't there.
Everybody I talked to went to that race.
Yes, they did. Yeah, exactly.
I didn't go, but everybody
right.
I knew went to that race.
Yeah, Miami, and now the fervor around Las Vegas, and of course Austin, which has now already been established
And
now.
we're talking about New York now too.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. And there's it's been fascinating to see that kind of passion. Do you attribute it to, given the fact that there are no American drivers, do you attribute it to what Netflix did?
Well, a piece of it, but the ownership of the Formula One is now an American company. It's owned by Liberty Media.
Liberty Media, right.
And they're an American company, and they're focused on it. They know how to market, and they know how to build these businesses. So, you could argue that it wasn't really run as a business in the past. It was run as kind of a hobby. The Ecclestone sold it to a private equity company in Europe, so it was still Eurocentric. It's owned by an American company now.
Right.
And I think that has a lot to do with it. Plus, the Netflix Drive to Survive has helped it somewhat, for sure.
And Stefano Domenicali said on this program that they would kind of come to, when the races were in America, they would come to America and they would leave, and there would be no further connection with the American public.
Right.
But now there's a sustained voice that's here in the marketplace.
Because it's an American, owned by an American company now, which is a big difference.
Right.
And the Netflix piece, obviously.
You a car guy?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You drive a Lucid.
I have a car dealership that I started when I left Fox in 2011 called Sophie's Garage, named after my daughter, who is a very big car fan. So I've bought and sold dozens of cars over the years.
Tell me about Sophie's Garage.
It's just a small online dealership that I'll buy. Well, I'm not actively working it right now because I have a day job, so it's a little difficult. But in the 6 years between working at Fox and coming to Sony, I worked it pretty aggressively. I had 8 or 10 cars at a time, and would find things that I thought would appreciate and hopefully sell at a profit. And did okay. Didn't make a lot of money, but had a lot of fun. Had a lot of fun with it. And the dealership is still active, and then at some point I'll go back to it again. It's
great to be a car dealer in America.
It really is. It really is. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I've had dozens of cars that I've gotten to drive and spend some time with, and revitalize dead batteries and all the things that go along with having a bunch of cars sitting around. I had a hangar at the Santa Monica Airport right next door to Jerry Seinfeld's.
Okay.
Right down the street from Jerry Seinfeld's, who, ironically, we sell Jerry Show, and we're just with him a couple of weeks ago, actually. He has an amazing, I don't know if you've seen what he has here.
Porsche. We've seen him at Pebble Beach in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been a frequent
Was he there
guest there.
Saturday?
We didn't see him, but he has been there, and his Porsche collection is legendary. And of course, the recent Jay Leno appearance in a Porsche was also one to remember too.
Yeah. Jay, we on Sundays, myself and Jay Leno and Skip Firestone and Jerry Seinfeld, Jerry and Skip were filming a movie here, and we'd all get together on a Sunday morning for coffee occasionally. So it was always a lot of fun.
Cars and Coffee with Jerry Seinfeld.
Cars and Coffee with Jerry Seinfeld and Jay Leno, who is, encyclopedic knowledge of cars.
We have had him on the show as well, and we toured his garage.
Yeah, you mention a car to him, he'll tell you all about the history of it.
Phenomenal.
The problems with it, what the weak points were, what the strong points are.
So you're hanging with car guys on the weekends?
Occasionally, yeah, not always, but occasionally, yeah.
That's a special Cars and Coffee group.
That's one of the reasons I bought the Lucid. He said it was a great car. And,
What else do you have in your stable of vehicles?
Well, right now I don't have a lot. I have I have the Lucid. I have my favorite car, I have to say, is Chevy Volt. I've had 3 of them now, and they're just it's so sad that they stopped manufacturing them because they're terrific cars. But I do understand that it cost them more to make them than they sold them for. So
Right.
but they're just great cars.
You can appreciate that
Yeah,
consideration.
I do appreciate that. But they're just great cars. I have sitting one out here. I drive it to work every day.
Yeah.
And I'm sad that I can't buy another one because this one's 3 years old now, 4 years old now. And I have the Lucid Air, my number 123, I think.
Okay.
Of the Lucid Airs.
It's a total screamer.
It is very fast.
You can't hear it, but it's a screamer.
It, is,
right.
It goes very fast. It feels like it's going to do a wheelie if you hit the accelerator too hard. And then I drive an old G-Wagon occasionally too.
Wonderful.
So, but I'm waiting on a Z06 right now. I have my order in.
Right.
And waiting on that. So.
Right. Well, another heck of a great ride.
Yeah.
You knew Carroll Shelby, right?
Yes,
the legendary
very well.
Carroll Shelby.
Very well.
Tell
yes.
me about him.
Carroll, boy, I knew Carroll. I think Carroll died in 2012 or so. I knew him for about 10 or 12 years before that. We would have lunch at Bel Air Country Club, where he held court a lot, and I'd have lunch with him quite a bit there. And he was just a very entertaining guy. And I've had I've owned and driven most of his cars, including a Series 1.
Wow.
I had a legendary car. I'll tell you a story about that in a moment. But my favorite of his cars was I had a 68 500 GT500 convertible, marina blue with a white top, which is a beautiful car and lovely car, and it goes straight really well. It doesn't turn or stop so well. And Carroll was fine with that, by the way. He said, I just have to get them go fast. I don't care if they go around the corner or not. But
he loves straight line acceleration.
He loves straight line horsepower.
Yeah.
That was it. But the Series 1 was really the only car he built from the ground up. And it had that Oldsmobile engine in it, the 6-cylinder engine. And he made a few cars with a supercharger in it. The original, the non-supercharged engine was about 400 horsepower, so he had it tuned up pretty well. The supercharger was more. And when I mentioned to him I had this car, he said, I bought it at a Barrett-Jackson auction, as a matter of fact. When I mentioned to him that I had this car, he said, let me have it. I want to put a supercharger on. I have all these parts left over from when I was building the car at his, he had this facility down in Carson. And I said, how long will it take? He said, I'll be quick. All the parts are there. So it takes I bring the car down. And this warehouse he had was stocked with amazing cars. Lots of Cobras, everything you could imagine, some Woodies. I mean, probably 100 cars in the place. Just amazing cars. So I dropped the car off to the mechanic that he says is going to do this, and he says, okay, fine, takes the car. So about a month later, I called Carroll. Hey, Carroll, how's the car going? He says, oh, let me check with, I think the guy's name was Joe. Let me check with Joe, see how it's going. And he says, oh, he's still working on it. So another month goes by, 6 months or now have gone by. And I go down to see Joe. I said, how's it going? And he said, we have to fabricate every part that we're putting into this because there were no parts left over. I said, well, Carroll told me he had all these parts left over. So it took him like 8 months to do the thing. I have a picture of Carroll and myself in front of the car. I can show you.
Wonderful.
At some point. But finally, the car is done. So I go to pick it up, and it's a rainy day, and the car now has like 700 horsepower, and it weighs about, 2,200 pounds. And it was scary to drive.
How'd you get it home?
It was scary to drive.
Carroll was a character.
Yeah, that's for sure. I sold it out of Barrett-Jackson action.
You did, yeah. Cars and movies, cars and TV.
Yep.
The cultural impact of all of that. I mean, you can think. I can think of American Graffiti, and just that 50s scene with all of the classic vehicles that were part of it, or Back to the Future with the DeLorean.
Right.
Or Christine.
Dukes of Hazzard.
Or Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah.
And,
sold a lot of
TV
those
world.
Chargers.
Right.
We're in the process of getting a film started right now based on the Gran Turismo PlayStation game, which we're going to start shooting in Eastern Europe, and it's going to go around the world to a bunch of different tracks. And it's based on I don't know if you know this, but they do a contest every year where people qualify. They race on their setups, on their rigs in their homes using the game. And the concept of the film is that it's about a kid who won the race in I think it's in the early 90s, or the early 2000s, excuse me. And he actually gets a chance to go to a real race car, a Nissan, whatever that class of cars that they're using. And it's about him, being in his basement and being, looked at as kind of a nerd, and he gets to go drive a race car, and his team won their class in Le Mans. So that's what the film's about. It's about somebody who plays the PlayStation game and wins the contest and moves on.
And so much of the energy around young drivers originates.
Yeah, I think
in
about
the Gran Turismo series.
I think about 100,000 people participate in this contest.
Wow.
Every year.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the genesis of this?
Well, PlayStation is a Sony
right.
Product, so
you thought, well, we can extend the brand.
Exactly. Well, one of the things we've done here at Sony is Sony Pictures has created a relationship with the PlayStation Group. We now have about 10 projects in the works using PlayStation intellectual property. The first of which was Uncharted, which came out early in the year, did $400+ million in box office, and this will be, I think, our third or fourth project.
Yeah, you did something with HBO also called The Last of Us.
Last of Us, it's in process right now. Yeah.
Yeah, and a bunch of other related things.
Yes.
So there's a ton of opportunity here to reach a whole new audience as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Twisted Metal is another one we're doing. There's like I said, there's 10 or 12 projects in the works.
Fantastic.
I bought the Cadillac STS, and I bought myself a GMC Typhoon.
And a Toyota Supra Turbo.
And a Toyota Supra. Typhoon first, STS for my parents, a GMC Typhoon, and then in 1994, I bought myself a Toyota Supra Turbo with the big spoiler on the back. I wish I still had that car to this day.
You just roll around New York in that?
I would roll around New York in it every day. I mean, those two were my everyday cars. And now I look back at those and I go, wow, how lucky was I to have those two as my first car that I ever bought and my everyday cars, but they were fantastic. I've always been a car guy. Growing up with my brothers in Germany, and we're on the school bus, and we're in the car with my parents, and a nice car drives by, and we're like, that's my car. No, I picked it first. Like, we're arguing with each other. We bought every car magazine you could imagine, if it was in German, if it was in English. And my mom would say, if you didn't spend so much money on magazines, you probably could afford a car right now. And she may have she probably was right.
She had a point there. Well, and you're growing up, and this is what happened with my kids. You're growing up in the Autobahn is in your backyard.
Thank you.
I mean, you have the pinnacle of performance, and where cars are meant to be driven. I mean, not necessarily up on the Upper West Side, but I mean, from Mannheim to Munich.
Yeah, and that was the thing. I mean, you had the Autobahn, Mannheim to Munich, Mannheim to Frankfurt, Mannheim to Kaiserslautern, Mannheim, anywhere. You get on those and you go. And I love that. But people think the Autobahn, I see driving here. I always felt like driving here is more dangerous. I felt more unsafe here driving than ever on the Autobahn, where the speed limits were limitless, I guess, if you want to put it that way, because of the rules.
Yep,
and everyone followed the rules. And you didn't get a license because you hit a certain age, and they gave you a license because of that. You actually had to go to school that you had to pay for, and you had to drive a stick shift, and you had to parallel park, and you had to do all these real world things that it just wasn't easy. So when everyone got on the road there, everyone understood the rules and everyone obeyed the rules. So I've always loved driving on the Autobahn. I've always loved going fast. Here, I don't have that luxury unless you go to a racetrack, but I still love my cars, the ones that go fast. I just don't go as fast with them on the regular roads here.
And your first car that you learned to drive on was a German car. It's the same car that I learned to drive on.
Yeah, Volkswagen?
GTI.
Yeah. Yeah, Volkswagen GTI. I still love a good rabbit. I see a rabbit, I just smile. Brings back such good memories. Such good memories.
You were I think there have been a couple of YouTube videos that are out there that talk about the collection that you have now. What do you like that's in your collection?
Oh
What's your
man, I
favorite
like all
stuff?
of it. That's why I have it. The problem is, I at this point, I'm kind of evolving it right now. I feel. Um, I think I'm going to probably get out of a lot of things that I bought that I've always been kind of just as a kid growing up that you've always wanted, and
You
to
wanted to have? Yeah.
yeah, that you wanted to have, and probably get out of some of those just to get that one special instead of having many, have one special one. I've never just have one car, but I mean that one special that takes up some of the other ones that I bought just because I always wanted them as a kid. But what I love right now, the car I've had the longest in my collection is my well, one is longer in terms that I owned it before and bought it back, but the other one, as far as continuous ownership, is a SLR McLaren Roadster, which I love, and I've had that car for 15 years or so.
722 edition.
No, not the 722, just the SLR Roadster.
Oh, the SLR Roadster. Okay.
Yeah. So, which I love, and I love the 722. Trust me. But I bought this car 15 years ago, and I adore it. I love it. It's so much fun to drive and comfortable for me, and so I'm always partial to that. I walk into the garage and I look and I keep thinking, what should I get rid of? But then there's so many I look and go, I kind of like. Oh, there's a reason, and there is a reason behind everything. So I think between the second oldest longest I've had is my LM 002.
Lamborghini,
Yeah,
1990.
Lamborghini, the original Rambo, whatever they call it.
Lamborghini
And
truck.
yes, and so I'm
So
partial.
rare.
You're not going to find you can find a V12 truck now. I mean, Ferrari's about to come out with one, but you don't find any that are 5-speed sticks and just that presence that it has. It's nothing like it. So I love that. I have a Ford GTX1, which I enjoy a lot. And what else? God, I can keep on going.
Porsche
But there's
Carrera
so many.
GT.
What's that?
A Porsche Carrera GT.
Oh, I had that and I sold it. I just sold that a
Okay.
little bit over about a year ago. And I want to kick myself in the face every time I think about it, because it was a car that I loved. When people say, "What's your favorite car to drive?" and that was it. And I don't know why I sold it. Like, what was I thinking? It probably, it was a little tight, and I didn't drive it as much as I probably should have. But every time I drove it, it gave me so much joy, like a smile on your face, because the sound. There's no other car that sounds as incredible.
Hopefully you're enjoying Cars and Culture with Jason Stein. Like and subscribe to see more and enjoy the rest of this interview.
As the Carrera GT, and I absolutely loved and adored that car. And maybe one day I'll get another. Who knows?
When you and I bumped into each other earlier this year, I told you that we had just had Guy Berryman on the program, bass player for Coldplay, and the art director of a magazine that you admire a ton. When it arrives, you look at Road Rat magazine and you go, I don't know when it arrives, but it's here and I love it.
Yeah. You know what? I tell you, I'm a big Coldplay fan, by the way. So when I heard that Guy with a big car guy, I freaked out. Friend put us in touch, told me about Road Rat. I subscribed to Road Rat, and like you, I'm like, I don't know when it's coming, but when it gets here, it's more than worth the wait, because it is so well done.
Yeah.
It is so that just everything from the articles to the photography, just everything is so well done. You can tell it's done by someone who loves cars. It's not done, I don't feel, as something like a commercial magazine to get 2 billion subscribers to. I think it's done by someone who loves cars, who's making something that, of course, they want people to buy it, but I think they also, it's something that they would want for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Beautiful
so
coffee
I'm
table.
happy that Guy has done it. I'm a big fan of his at his career, but I'm also probably a bigger fan of what he does with his cars, because he has a great collection himself.
Is there something, I asked Tahani Jones this, is there something with NFL players and vehicles? Like those two just go hand in hand, don't they? Athletes and vehicles.
Well, I think it's weird. I think certain guys drive them because it creates a certain status, I guess, or the way that they want to be seen. For me, it's always been because I just love cars. So I've always had unusual cars. When I played for the Giants, you would come to the stadium and I would have the LM 002 sit in the parking lot. I mean, I would have Aston Martins and like old school Volante Vantages and other things that you usually don't see in the NFL parking lot, because usually it's the new this or the new that. I always had classics. And yeah, but I think there's definitely a thing between athletes and vehicles, because it's like a status symbol in a lot of ways. But I know for me, it's always kind of been that child who always would be on the school bus hollering, "That's my car." This gave me, now I have the opportunity to actually say, "That's my car." But you know, it doesn't come without hard work, obviously.
So if we cull down the collection, if we eliminate the things that you know, maybe you always wanted, now you've had, what do you really want?
What do I really want? Oh.
Mr. Strahan.
Well, I got a few cars coming that I ordered that I really want. One being the FCG 004S Glickenhaus center seat. I ordered mine with a manual transmission. So I can't wait for that. That's going to be fun. Kind of the American McLaren F1 experience. I also ordered a SSC Totara, fastest car on the planet, which I actually drove it at Monticello racetrack. And I went there because a friend of mine, Jason Castriota, who designed for Pininfarina, he also designed Glickenhaus's P4, P5 Ferrari. He designed this car for Jared Shelby. And I went just to support him and to drive the car at the track. And I got out of that thing with the biggest smile on my face, because I love supercars, obviously, but I feel like a lot of times, a lot of supercars all start to feel the same. You know, the paddles, it gets a little boring, gets a little monotonous. But with that car, I was just absolutely blown away. And I hadn't had a smile on my face like that in a modern car in a long time. So I can't wait for that. I'm a big Koenigsegg fan now.
I was going to ask you. So we sat with Christian at Pebble Beach with his vehicle that he just created, which was
amazing
50th birthday present to himself.
Well, you know, the amazing thing is, I drove the first one in that model.
Yes,
I drove it. It was the only one in the country at the time. And this was years ago when it was Koenigsegg was, no one really knew them. It was the first model he made. I knew about them obviously from all the magazines I bought. My mom told me I shouldn't have bought. And so I get an opportunity to go out and test drive one that was for sale. I drove that car and said, "This car is going to kill somebody." It was a manual. It was so fast. I don't even know if the traction control was on at the time. This thing was squirrely. And I love how far he's come. And I love how innovative he's very innovative, right? So in the new, at the 50th birthday gift to himself, it's a manual or stick. What? I mean, the single clutch transmission, like the transmission just
automatic or stick.
Automatic, yeah.
It does does both.
Yeah, this guy does the automatic in it, does the manual transmission. But then it's really amazing what he has been able to build, and just the cars are beautiful. I'm a big Koenigsegg fan, obviously. And the Valhalla, the Aston Martin, have that on order too.
Wonderful.
So quite a few things I'm waiting to see and check out, and hopefully they're as good as I picture they'll be.
Let's talk about a couple more subjects, and then we'll let you go on to your 20th job. Religion of sports. You are in with Tom Brady, co-founded, and Gotham Chopra. Where is that these days? What progress are you making? And tell me a little bit about it.
Well, Religion of Sports, it actually, Gotham and I sat down in a cafe, not even a cafe, like a diner in LA years ago. And, you know, Gotham is the son of Deepak Chopra. So he's very spiritual. And we were talking about how the intersection of sports and religion, like the cathedral is the stadium, the fans are the parishioners, the demigods are the athletes, you know, the priests are the coaches, you know, all those different, and how sports really, like religion, gives people hope, or you know, and it's something that they lean on in despair. It's something that takes their mind off of everything and kind of lets them focus for a certain amount of time. And so we came up with religion of sports and how sports is so important to culture and all, just not to here we think about our few sports, but there's so many sports around the world that we've been able to dive into. But we've created, we've won Emmys with the show, which is with the production company, which has been great, with Tom versus Time, Steph versus the Game. We did the Simone Biles doc around her and the Olympics and everything that she went through, which we didn't know was she was gonna, bow out of a lot of it because of her mental health issues. But just to be so close to all these things and to produce an incredible content. We got a Conor McGregor documentary coming out. And it's just been fantastic, to be honest with you. We have a great board. We've raised a lot of money, and we've been doing very, very well. And we have so many fun, creative projects that are on in the pipeline right now, and we're just looking forward to continue to build that business. And you got to imagine when you're in business with a guy like Tom Brady, everything Tom does, it's like got to be the best of the best. And I love that he operates like that, because that's the way I operate. So between Gotham, myself, and Tom, we've been able to build one heck of a business and have some great partners to help us along the way.
You still shake your head when you think about what Tom's been able to do. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I know he's a great partner, and you've said he's a great guy, but he's
Yeah.
also a great player.
Yeah.
At
45 years
century.
old.
Yeah.
I mean, 45 years old, you get out of the bed and stuff aches just because you woke up, So I don't know how he is playing football and taking hits and moving around and just to practice. And I always, physically, I knew I could have played a few more years of football. Physically, I could have. Mentally is where I knew I was done. I was tired. I was tired of pregame speeches, and I was tired of taping my fingers and my ankles and practice, and just tired. Mentally, it wears you down. But to do it for over 20 years at the high level in which he's done it, I can't imagine the mental strength that he has. And I know when he's done with football, he's going to apply that towards religion and sports and anything else that he does. And there's no way, shape, and form in my mind he's not going to be successful, because this is a guy who's going to work and do whatever it takes to be so. But my hat's off to him. 45 years old, still playing football? Forget about it.
It's been incredible. This has been a pivotal moment for us at the company, really taking F-Series electric. And, we had one shot to do it right because of how big F-Series is, and making sure that, our customers who are used to the F-Series brand with Built Ford Tough knows that this truck is going to do what they need for it to do. But at the same time, bringing in some really cool elements of electrification that they're not used to seeing on a gas truck. For example, Mega Power Frunk, which is the large front trunk in the vehicle because you don't have an engine. And with that, because of the battery electric, we open up this whole new space for our customers, as well as the awesome performance of near instant torque, 0 to 60 in mid 4 seconds, and 775 foot-pounds of torque, and 560 horsepower. I mean, what can beat that? And then leveraging the battery to be able to give our customer exportable power for intelligent backup power in the case of outages. It's absolutely incredible. And to be able to take this product to market and really show America what electrification can be about with an all new electric truck is pretty incredible.
And you recently had an experience where you had to use the truck's innovative electric power in a different way, one that would have never been used before with any vehicle. Describe that for me.
Oh yeah, definitely. The other day I had a power outage at home. So because I had intelligent backup power set up with the truck in the driveway, I was able to go out there and plug the truck in, and the whole house as an ecosystem is completely alive at that point. Internet, electricity, basically everything that we need to be able to go. And it was barely using even the max within the vehicle. I was pulling about 2 kilowatt, and it was out of 9.6. So using a fraction of what the truck's even capable of, but we were able to keep going with homework, with eating, with electricity, with TV, and just about anything in the house. So it was pretty cool. And being able to actually even be that home where neighbors can come over and do things as well is pretty incredible as well.
What has surprised you about this journey that you've been on now? There's 4 years that you've been on as the lead engineer of this product.
Well, I think it's really just how great of a job the team's done in terms of taking a strategy with F-Series, electrifying it with the principles that we really wanted to deliver, and with the customer kind of at the center of that focus in mind, to give them an even better tool than they have today, with some of the really great features and really leveraging the technologies that we have in the vehicle to give them that better experience, whether it's on the road or even off the road, like we explained with intelligent backup power. But in addition to that, I think it's just the fact that we set out to do quite a bit with this vehicle, and as a team, we pretty much delivered on all of those promises, and in many cases surpassed it, whether it's payload, whether it's horsepower, or whether it's just overall range for the vehicle. So the team's done an outstanding job, and we're excited to be able to bring that from an electrification perspective at Ford Motor Company to America.
You had so many different various roles within the company leading up to this. And I know you were involved in some of the early electrification efforts, but how did the idea come for you to be involved in this truck?
Well, the opportunity came up, and at the time I had interviewed for it, and it just seemed like a perfect assignment for me, perfect project for me, because of my passion for electrification, but also from a business perspective and an engineering perspective, really being able to pull all that together and work with such an awesome team to be able to take the product all the way from concept to fruition to really getting it out on the roads for customers to get to drive and to experience. So that's been really exciting. And I think, just having such a diverse background, whether it's manufacturing, strategy, engineering, or even the finance side of things, has really helped me quite a bit in terms of getting this project going. And it's been an outstanding a project to be on. And we had such a great team here at Ford, and not only Ford, but the supply base, as well as the UAW, really helping all the way through to make this product great.
Do you remember the day when you were told that the job you had interviewed for was yours?
Yep, I sure do. I was.
Tell me about that day.
Oh, I was so excited. My director at the time called me in the morning and said, "Hey, come on down. I got to talk to you about something." So I went down, and I thought it was about whatever other project I was currently working on. But he told me the great news, and I was just ecstatic. It was just so exciting to be able to work on such a great product, really taking the crown jewels of the company, just like you said, F-Series, which has more revenue than some major companies out there like Coca-Cola, Nike, McDonald's. I mean, that's amazing to be able to take this big of a project and electrify it, leverage a lot of the electrical engineering background that I have as well.
You're such a family-oriented person. I imagine if the first phone call or was the invitation for you to go to your director's office, then the next phone call was you to your family, you to your husband.
Yep, absolutely. My husband and also my parents, because they're a big part of my entire journey here.
Yeah, let's talk about that journey. You've certainly talked about it when you introduced the truck, and you're very forthcoming about your own experience and the fact that this is a dream come true, because you were just 8 years old when your family decided that they were going to move, that everyone was going to move to America from China. And you landed in Indiana, of all places. Actually landed in Chicago on your way to Indiana.
Correct.
And all of a sudden you were in America, Mandarin speaking, not really a lot of English, right? And I imagine those days are still very vivid for you.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I remember kind of getting off the plane and knowing my alphabet up to H, of which all of which I learned on the plane with the help of a lot of really nice stewardesses. And just getting off, and it was like the middle of the night. It was pitch dark, but America was just so beautiful because you had these highways that were just pristine, and these lights, and this car that my dad drove us in, and it was literally my first time in a car, and it literally felt like a fairy tale for me, all the way from Chicago O'Hare Airport, magnificent O'Hare, all the way to West Lafayette. But it was a pretty quiet ride, but at the same time I just remember looking outside and just taking it all in, and looking at the lights in the car, and being able to see my dad again for the first time, and because he had actually moved here about a year before us, so we hadn't actually seen him for pretty much a year. So seeing him for the first time after about a year, it was really it was just a very emotional time for me because of how much was happening for me at that moment, being in a new country, being with my father again, and just being able to really see what America was all about from the highways.
Yeah, you have described where you came from as being less fortunate than where certainly America was when you landed. What do you remember about your time in China?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, America is very different than China back in 1985. But I think for me, I think the biggest thing was when I was a kid, it was just a lot of, family, a lot of running around with friends, a lot of studying, a lot of school, particularly in China. School is a big deal, right? I think I remember in 8th grade, we were still required to take naps, and that was not something I really loved at all. So that's something I remember very clearly as loving when I got to school here in the US for a few months, is that there's no naps, and we did all kinds of great activities, and we had pizza and chocolate milk for lunch. What could be better for an 8-year-old?
What could be better? Your father was in the graduate teaching program at Purdue, but interestingly, and perhaps coincidentally later on in life, he ends up working at Ford. What was he
Yes,
doing
he
at Ford?
did. He was working in the glass factory actually at the time with controls, to make sure that from a quality perspective that we were making glass with quality, and that from a throughput perspective that everything was in good shape and not cracking from that perspective. So he was taking a lot of his civil engineering background, and leveraging it for kind of glass work for the company. And then later on, he moved into more of the research labs and worked on more advanced transmissions and such. But early on, that's what he did. And those are the days really that I remember the most, because that was when I got the opportunity to go to work with him and see how the glass factory, ran, and, look at the things that he was looking at from a scrap perspective, and trying to make sure that we, minimize scrap, because that's waste. So, a lot of really great learnings, and he really loved his career at Ford, and that was one of the things that really brought me to Ford as a company. Is it's just a family company, and it gave our family our livelihood in a way, and I just saw how great of a company it was, and that was one thing that drew me definitely to Ford Motor Company.
Did you know you wanted to go into automotive, or did you think about pursuing other careers as well?
I was very interested in automotive. I think for me, just in general, I loved engineering. So it didn't matter specifically what, but I think automotive is always something that called out to me, just because of the cultural significance of it, and then also from just my we talked about my first day in America, right? That was fundamentally just something that had always drawn on me in a way. So I think that piece of it, Ford Motor Company as being a great company, those are all the reasons why I came to automotive. And I mean, it's like working on a big toy, I feel.
So first day in America, you remember? Do you remember your first day at Ford?
Yes, I do. My first day at Ford was actually part of the new employee orientation program, and Ford does such a great job with graduate or student graduating students, because they, at the time, and they still do have this really wonderful Ford College graduate program. And it brings in a lot of students that really have never been in the workplace. And what I loved about it is it gave you an orientation very quickly to what the company's about. And you spend the first, basically week to 2 weeks seeing different areas within Ford, just kind of getting acclimated. You don't, straight jump into a job and you sit there and work on whatever widget it might be. The company does a really good job investing, really time and energy into the new hires to give them that acclimation to what is the company all about. And that's what I remember is coming in and, my first week, spending a lot of time understanding about the company, learning about the company, but then also understanding different areas within it. So we did, like a plant tour at the Dearborn assembly plant at the time, which made Mustangs, and then different other areas would bring in different folks to come and talk to us about that side of the business. So, I mean, it's great because Ford's such a big company and a global company that it's nice to be able to kind of understand what the different aspects are.
Hopefully you enjoyed this interview on Cars and Culture with Jason Stein. Like and subscribe. Come back and see more interviews with actors, athletes, musicians, business leaders. It's all right here on Cars and Culture.